Hi there. I've been offline for a while. I've been busy with my other websites and actually installing solar panels and doing some electronics. I thought I'd make a video, but the sound used to be very horrible. I checked just now and it seemed to be okay. There's lots of talk about the fiscal cliff, and it's another boogeyman presented by a banking system that is trying to keep itself alive. I think that is helpful to understand. If you want to understand the system or the way that things work, as I understand it, it's very simple. There are limited resources in the world. They are distributed through money. So primarily oil is distributed by giving people money so that they can buy it somewhere. And the resources are dwindling. So in order to hide that fact, because that would overrule that system of distribution, the banks are trying to limit the money, cash in hands of people. So how much buying power does an individual have in the US? That has to be limited because there's not enough stuff anymore. It used to be a lot, and now there's less and less, and of course the strategic control of resources is also dwindling. And they have to do that because if they don't do that, then you would immediately get a rationing system. You would say, okay, well, oh shit, well, oil is running out, food is running out, all these things are running out, pig iron is running out. What are we going to do? It's a war situation. We have to survive as a nation, and we're not going to let somebody try to make as much money as they can on let's say, spending it as fast as possible, as the banks are trying to do, with the people that they still can. And that's the banking system. The banking system does that, and in order to be able to sustain their shrinking of the economy, it's a policy. It's not a problem to the banks. It's actually their solution. Without a crisis, they would not survive. They would be immediately overruled, because the real crisis would become visible. The resource crisis would become patently visible. So they are actually, it's their policy. They've designed it, and but in their policy, they have to present crisis after crisis, actually at the same speed as that the resources are dwindling, in order to make sure that the prices remain constant and everybody doesn't really notice the problem. Of course, they're greatly helped by the population because people don't care about poor people. And people are so antisocial, it's unbelievable. So they just say, okay, well, these assholes in Greece, they don't have the money, and these assholes in Spain, they don't have the money, and oh, they suffer because they were lazy, and all these excuses work perfectly. It's just because of general ignorance, and of course because of constant brainwashing by the media. So you're constantly reminded that there's a crisis, you're constantly reminded that austerity needs to happen and it's very important and we have to have the bank union, all that stuff. It's all panic, panic, panic. And in that panic you can control people. Who does it serve? It serves the banks only because they can continue doing what they're doing and they can continue enjoying the whole, let's say, largesse of their existence. It doesn't help human survival. It's actually a complete, let's say, psychotic and sick. It's an infection of the rationale of the system. There's no longer the goal for people to survive. There's a goal for a few people to survive. It's a cannibalistic process, and it's a masochistic process for anybody that tries to defend it. If you go like, yes, but we have to repay the debt, it's meaningless. Why is the debt meaningless? Because you go into debt, you buy something which is fossil fuels or a product or service delivered through fossil fuels, which means that the person delivering the product or the service will have to buy fossil fuels in order to be able to do that. That person burns the fossil fuels, and with that it becomes impossible for him to repay the debt in any real value. It's basically, it's not like when I borrow something from you or I loan you money and I buy something with it. If I sell that thing, I can repay the loan, and that's let's say an equal exchange. In the carbon credit system, as I call it, so the banking system as we know it, it's not an equal exchange. And because of that, you have to constantly make new loans. You have to constantly control liquidity, constantly control the money that people can actually spend. Free money, you could almost call it. Because if there's not enough fuel around, or there's not enough resources around, and people try to spend the money, then the prices will rise and they'll get alarmed. Because, hey, shit, this is inflation. What's happening? And that's what the banks, do. That's their job. Their job is basically control the liquidity of people, so they don't notice that they're actually that the whole system is a complete complete nonsense. It's a mystery to me how banks get so powerful, other than that people endow this money with this immense power to always buy something, which is a complete fiction. It's just, you can simply run out of stuff, and then your money is worthless. So you're in a let's say a deserted island. You have $1 million, and there's nothing on the island. Well, good luck. You're not going to survive. It's no use anything. And there's another aspect to it, and that's of course that we always are reminded of the money in the banks, the billions and the trillions. But that money is completely meaningless. It doesn't have to. There is no service or product matching that money. Nothing. There's no demand on reality by that money, as long as it's in a bank account or it's in a stock exchange. Those places, and of course bonds and pensions, are great places to hide and to reduce people's spending power, which is their sole purpose. Simply, during the 20th century, these institutions were created in order to make sure that people at the time didn't spend more than the fuel production and the industrial output could actually bear. So to keep prices stable. And you see that management clearer and clearer. I have to keep this video short with all the measures that are taken. And believe me, there's only one type of measure that will be taken in the economical system as it exists right now, and that is that you will have less money to spend. Why? Because there's less stuff in existence, and as long as they do that, and you keep believing that there's a reason for it, or there's a crisis for it, you won't solve the problem. Which is, of course, the other option, is to say, okay, well, carbon resources are dwindling, let's make renewable energy. Food sources are dwindling, well, let's start irrigating and plowing the fields and making sure that there's enough food. And do those things. Simply do them. Not ask for money to do them, but do them. Try to find a solution to every problem without needing fossil fuels. If you fix that problem, if you fix the fossil fuel need, the centralized energy need in your process, you are not limited anymore by the financial system, because that's what they control. They control your access to fossil fuels, and that's also, to let's say throw it all in one video after a long while, is why the banks are so against renewables, and why the media are so against renewables. Media paid by the banks, is simply because it breaks them down, it makes them obsolete, and it solves all the problems in the world. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy it, and well, have a good day.